Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Jeff. Hope everybody having a great Easter Sunday. And today it's really nice out here. There was the sky, no clouds at all in the sky, hardly much of wind. It was like in the mid-40s today. Kids are outside playing, and people are out, riding their bikes and walking and walking their pets, and it's all kinds of nice signs that better days are coming here. Once we get out of the winter, the ground's all soggy and wet and muddy in some spots because of all the precipitation we got last week, but it's gonna dry up and melt and everything, and so we'll be fine before too long. So anyway, there was this story here that's been floating around out there. You probably already heard of it, but and it's about a woman named Ruby Franke, I guess, and Jodi Hildebrandt. These are two women who got themselves caught up in a child abuse scandal in Utah, and they're sitting in prison right now, the both of them, for various years and length of time here, and how the case opened up was Ruby Franke had a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers that was playing I don't know, weekly or daily, I don't know, but she had close to or just over 2 million viewers at its peak. Okay, so a lot of people were watching this channel, which I think was more like some kind of a reality show about how to raise kids or a family or something like that. It's hard to say. People today will watch stuff like that. I'm not really into it. But what makes this thing stand out was the child abuse thing, because when that opened up, the YouTube yanked the channel, and the ball and justice started to roll right over these two women here. Now, Ruby Franke was married. Of course, her husband divorced her now. Recently, just a year actually, he filed papers for divorce this year. This happened last August. This story broke. So, since August, this whole thing has been pretty much concluded here, with some fallout still, because the kids are damaged. That she had four kids, I guess, at least. Ruby did, and Jodi was I should say, a licensed psychologist. Okay, she got her license in early 2000s, and she was a family therapist for a Mormon church, I guess, or at least her services were given to them when they needed her. And in 2008, or later, I think it was, they had suspended her and removed her from that because she disclosed confidential information about a client, a member of the church, that you're not supposed to do that if you're a therapist. Okay, that stuff's gotta, But she did, and it got back to them that she opened her Yap, and so they They said goodbye, and they suspended her license for a time. But that didn't stop her. You know, she went right back into the job after, you know, shortly after, and started doing her job again. But then this thing happens, you know, where this woman does a YouTube channel. Okay. And she meets Ruby Frank meets this woman here, and I can't remember how that happened, but she meets her, and they kind of bonded right off or some damn thing. Okay. And somehow they were in their conversations, and you know, Ruby had said that her husband was addicted to pornography or something along those lines, and kind of gave her some ideas about what her husband, you know, wanted to see in their relationship in the intimate parts. Okay. And you know, it's sad, you know, we live in a world, you know, where our bedroom lives can't be private anymore. You know, people, either the government or your spouse will reveal it. But as it is, she felt uncomfortable, I guess, about it, and Jodi told her that she needed to separate from him, and he needs to work on his demons, you know, being that she's a Mormon faith, and so was Ruby, by the way. Ruby is a Mormon too, the Church of Latter-day Saints. And so people were starting to not watch 8 Passengers because there were some moments in her videos where there was one thing where she said she had her son sleeping on a beanbag for weeks at a time. Now some people thought, you know, didn't like that. They thought that was abusive, okay? Because, you know, a person's back could get all thrown out, you know, by letting a kid that's still growing up sleep in a beanbag. I mean, that's, you know, that's just not something you sleep on, okay? But some people just dropped her from that. Then she said, you know, then she was saying one of her kids was starving, but it was part of a punishment or some damn thing that she was doing, and then more people stopped watching. So people were already getting suspicious that there was some shit going on behind the scenes of this 8 Passengers reality show, that they figured that if there was, you know, more than that happening, that, you know, maybe the police ought to get involved. Well, as it turned out, one of the boys that was staying in Jodi Hildebrandt's house, I mean, because remember, after she told her to separate from her husband for a time, Ruby moves in, I guess, into Jodi's house, which, you know, is like, wow, what? You know, you move in with your therapist. She brings her and the kids, and they stay there. Which makes me wonder about, you know, was there more than just pornography involved here? I mean, was this guy doing something to kids? Okay, that's just a side thing here on what I'm thinking. I'm not saying there's any evidence of that. But she's staying there with the kids with Jodi in their house. And the kids, one of the kids, I guess, escapes and goes to a neighbor's house, rings the doorbell, guy answers, kid asks him for 2 favors. You know, he was hungry and he wanted the police. He needed help because his sister was still locked up. He didn't even know where the hell in the house his sister was, okay? He knew she was in there, but he didn't know where. But the guy gets on 911, tells him, you better send somebody over here. I got a kid here who looks like, you know, he's starving. And he's, you know, he wants help. And you know, and the guy is starting to tear up, because I mean, it must have looked bad. I mean, you could only tell so much from one of them doorbell cameras, you know, wait to see. I mean, because where they were talking, it was kind of, you know, underneath the sunlight, so it was shadowed and you couldn't really see, but you could hear what they were saying. And so the guy sounded really broken up on the phone, talking to the 911 operator about it. And so the police show up later at Jodi's place. She answers the door while she's on the phone with her lawyer, meaning to say she knows why they're there. Okay, she fucking knows. And so they press her to, we want to see where, you know, this girl here the kid says his sister's in there. We got to find her, and she's screaming, "You don't have a warrant. You don't have a warrant. You don't have a warrant." He doesn't need a warrant, and I guess in the state of Utah, I don't know if this is for the whole country, but in the state of Utah, you know, they have circumstances that supersede a warrant, and in that situation, they were allowed to go and search for the girl in the house. While they were in there, they found some other oddities that you know, demanded some investigation. Okay. In the meantime, Jodi Hildebrandt is standing out in her front yard or whatever, you know, tearing up and everything. And I'm sure the lawyer was telling you can't do anything. Okay, they're perfectly within their rights to search the house. So while this is happening, Ruby shows up and she's arrested. Okay, and they take her to the jailhouse, or not jail, to the police station, and she just clams up, won't say nothing. So there's really nothing they could do with her. So they just start their investigation. Of course, the kids are telling them everything, right? I mean, they really don't need Ma, you know, to explain what's going on. The kids are going to tell them right off. But the little girl was scared. I mean, she was in some kind of what looked like a closet, you know, and she's kind of curled up in there, not saying anything. But she was hungry because they gave her 2 pizzas, one medium and one big pizza. She ate one and half ate the other. She was fucking hungry. I mean, a little girl like that ate 2 big ass pizzas. I mean, Jesus. That right there, that's proof enough to tell me that she was starving. Okay, no kid eats like that. I don't care if they're growing or not. I never seen a girl that, you know, little eat 2 pizzas. She's, but she, you know, she and the boy, you know, basically, you know, told them everything, I guess. And, you know, it wasn't, they didn't have to hurry, you know, to take months and months and months like you see on these TV shows about cops doing investigation. This was practically done in just a week here. They had everything they needed to bring all these bitches in, okay, which they did. And, you know, they pled guilty. And when Jodi caught wind that her friend Ruby was going to open up the beans on her, she cut a deal before anything she said could have made any difference, and, you know, basically robbed Ruby of the chance to be able to cut a deal for herself to get leniency. All right. So basically, they just, you know, now they're sitting in prison now for various years, I guess. I mean, the penalty system out there for abusing kids is kind of convoluted, if you ask me. I would think that, you know, if you're going to convolute child abuse, then why don't you convolute rape, you know, or murder the way they do in Utah? Okay, the penalty should be pretty straightforward, you know. I mean, yes, there has to be degrees, you know, but when you're talking about a minimum of 4 years and a maximum of 30 years, isn't that gap a little outrageous? I mean, it shouldn't be that big of a gap. I mean, it's if you're going to punish somebody for 4 years, then what kind of a child abuse would you consider to be a 4-year punishment? If you're going to punish somebody for 30 years, then what kind of child abuse would that mean to get a 30-year sentence? You see what I'm saying? I mean, you're talking about levels of degree here in child abuse that really shouldn't even factor into it. Child abuse is child abuse. I don't care what the fuck it is that you did. All right? Okay, any kind of abuse to a kid's going to last that kid a lifetime. And you'll be a lifetime dealing with it. So whenever you know, you hear about penalty stages and degrees and, you know, and all that, okay, that's just a bunch of, what can I call it, you know, ambiguity in the law that really needs to be eliminated. Okay, streamline that fucking system, will you? Okay, because, you know, there's going to be justice for a crime of child abuse, and it should be pretty consistent no matter what. All right, because I would think that any severe child abuse would go beyond just child abuse as a charge. It would be something on top of it, right? To get 30 years, I mean, like child abuse and a murder, you know. So, anyway, that story was around. I've been watching it on YouTube, and the thing that I keep going back to is this. Jodi Hildebrandt went to school, went to college, got a degree in psychology, got a license to get a psychology job, to get that the license, you know. Does that make any sense to you at all? I mean, does intelligence have any factor at all in a person being law-abiding or a criminal? Because then, you know, you think about Ted Bundy, another guy studying to be a lawyer. He was in politics for a little bit in the Republican Party, okay? Smart by all accounts. Everybody that met the guy said, Christ, he's a very intelligent fellow to talk to. But yet, he committed some of the most heinous fucking murders you could ever imagine a person doing in his years on this earth, okay? Some of the terrible, terrible, sick fucking murders. The lowest things you could expect from somebody who has no intelligence to do. So, does intelligence really matter at all about making somebody aware that if you do something wrong, you're going to be punished for it? I mean, you could expect that from somebody who's really ignorant or even mentally deranged or you know, suffering from some mental illness that would suggest he wouldn't understand right from wrong. But these people do understand right from wrong, okay? They do. Especially Ted Bundy, who was a fucking lawyer. Jesus Christ. You know, and then this Jodi Hildebrandt, who deals with family counseling and stuff, who knows what happens when you hurt somebody psychologically. These two people understand the consequences of doing wrong, and yet, what do? You know, I feel like, you know, we're missing something as a people when it comes to educating our young and growing up. Is knowledge really enough? Okay? Is knowledge really enough in order for people to be good citizens? Or are we missing something else? Okay? People have been telling me for years, oh, the moral decay in this country, the moral decay in this country, okay? And I've been just chalking that up as the religious trying to impose their will on the rest of the country. And maybe in some respects they are, okay? Which I have a problem with, because we don't have just one religion in this country. We got many religions in this country, and we're supposed to treat them all equally. Now, if you ask anybody from any other religion other than Christianity about right and wrong, they're probably going to spit back at you with the same answers you're going to get from Christianity people. That, you know, they're going to tell you, you know, murder's a sin, or whatever. They're going to tell you the same things. So I would like to think that we're all on the same page here when it comes to morality. So, if what they're saying about the moral decay in America is prevalent and what's causing all these things to happen, isn't it their own fault, the people who are responsible for teaching us about morality, isn't it their own fault that maybe they dropped the ball and maybe they're not being very good examples of morality? Because we certainly have been finding a lot of these people doing some heinous crimes themselves, from the priests, you know, the reverends, you know, people like this lady here who's a member of the Mormon church. These people, where the hell are they? They're supposed to be, you know, exuding this fucking morality to all of us here. You know, they're supposed to be showing us what's right and wrong and pounding it into our heads as, you know, as we live our lives. And especially for the kids who really need to know this, because from day one they're exposed to immorality the minute they turn the TV on, or they turn the internet on, or they go somewhere where there's book, anywhere. Okay? Now, somewhere along the way, Jodi and Ruby slipped into this abusive pattern of behavior with the kids. How they managed to do that and say that they're still Mormon, I don't know. Okay? Somewhere those two lost their morality. They lost their morality and lost their way. Okay. Some people on YouTube saw it. Okay, some people saw there was a problem there because of what Rudy was admitting to, and didn't seem to have any qualms about it, because maybe she didn't think she was doing anything wrong. Okay, but she only told us what she felt comfortable telling us. I mean, she wasn't going to tell us, oh, I got my boy tied up in the back there with ropes and whatever. She wasn't going to say that. But to say that, oh, my girl's starving and all that, and she didn't really hesitate saying that, says there was something lacking there with this woman, Ruby here. That the morality that she comes from, or supposedly comes from, just wasn't there. And by moving in with Jodi Hildebrandt, who also seemed to have problems with morality, these two together were a disaster waiting to happen. Okay, this was a bad combination. Whatever the hell Ruby was dealing with her husband was not like this. I don't think it was. Because if there was anything that her husband was doing that was so bad that made her, want to run to Jodi for help, she never said anything about it in court. All she said was, oh, he had to deal with some demons, and Jodi told me I needed to separate from him for a time. And that was basically all she said about that.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a man to test the will and goodness of a free people. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who failed in everything but theft and broken promises to live in a golden palace and convince the poor he serves their needs. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a wicked man to lead the common folk with hatred and fear. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a corrupt man who is above the law and immune from justice. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who will use violence to seize power. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man whose followers will call black white, call evil good, and call criminals hostages. So God made a dictator. God said, I need his political party to obey without question, and the press fear his wrath. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a cruel man who uses his power and position to punish and harm his opposition. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who breaks the faith of even his most godly followers and leads them to idolatry. Place him above me. So God made a dictator. And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
So, yeah, she, that's all she said about that, about her husband and all that. So her husband, who's divorcing her now, I'm guessing there was probably more marital problems there than just his addiction to pornography that he said he had. I think that, you know, she must have been doing stuff that he didn't find very comfortable either. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're really going to get all the story about the family, about that. And really the issue really is, you know, maybe the family issue will come out in time from the kids. Maybe the kids will say something about that. I don't know. I know that, is it HBO has a television program about this whole thing on there, but I can't really see how they can cover anything more about this than what's already on YouTube about it, because I think that's where, I mean, there's like 3-4 hour programs here on YouTube, basically with, you know, all the footage, the video footage and everything is released to the public. It's all there now. I mean, I mean, they got some areas redacted, you know, and points to protect names and things. But it's all there. I mean, if you want to know the whole thing about this, just go on YouTube and type in, you know, Ruby Frank or Jodi Hildebrandt, and you're going to find video after video after video of people breaking this thing down, okay? So there's all kinds of information about that. But what you're not going to find in a lot of it, you know, is why. You know, why did you guys do this? Why did you feel you could do this and get away with it? You know, you're smart enough. You can't say I'm stupid. You can't say I got a mental problem. Okay, either one of yous. You know, you're not Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, you don't have a mental problem. You don't have an addiction to killing or you know what I'm saying? You guys, you know better because you put yourself out there initially as people you can go to get good advice about your family and how to deal with it. And you failed. You failed on your own personal lives. So why should anybody ever again listen to either one of you about anything to do with family? You guys, you've ruined your name. I mean, you're almost as ruined now as what's her face there? The one that killed her little baby there. You know, whatever her name is. But your name is mud now, and you deserve it because you sold everybody up the river, you know, and then you stabbed everybody in the back with your own hypocrisy. All right, and fortunately enough, people realized that about you before this shit came down. They saw the demons for what you were. You're the demons. You know. You can call your husband the demon or whatever, but you guys were the demons as far as we know. Everything that we know about this case shows that you people were wrong, dead wrong, okay? And you were damn lucky that none of those kids were killed in what you were trying to do. You should kiss your ass, kiss God's ass, you know, that those kids didn't show up dead, because then you guys, you'd never see that, you'd never be free again. Okay, as it is now, you can probably get out in a few years, but, you know, you would never see daylight ever again. And the fact that, you know, you got caught, and knowing that you were doing something wrong shows big time. So you guys knew better. Don't tell me you didn't know better. You knew better. You knew what you was doing with those kids was wrong. Okay? And I feel like that, you know, the rest of us watching this we have to really look at that and learn some lessons from it. And whenever somebody's on YouTube or whatever channel, and they're making videos about how to this, how to that, you know, take their advice with a grain of salt, okay? Even if they got a fucking license, they can't always be right. Nobody can help you over the internet. It's just like those people who used to call in. Remember, you know, the doctors on the, like Dr. Laura and all them, they'd call up and they'd say, oh, I got this problem. You know, 2 minutes on the phone with somebody, you're not going to know everything about what the hell they're going through. But yet these people will pretend like they can help you like that. Okay, and no, they don't. They can't. They can't possibly know that. These people are just soothsayers or whatever the hell you want to call them. Okay, they don't know what, you know, half the time who they're talking to or what the hell the story really is going on. They're getting one side of it, and that's it. And you saw what happened with Dr. Laura at the end, anyway. Okay, you know, she wasn't a very good role model herself in the end. But the thing is that you got to be aware of these people. Because now they're going online and do this stuff, and they're doing it because they can make more money that way. I suppose, you know, with however they do it online. Okay, I don't know. There's money to be made in online TV shows or whatever you want to call it. And you know, it's sad that, you know, so many people out there can tune into this and be sucked into it so much like that. I mean, 2 million plus viewers. I mean, that's pretty sad when you think about it, that these people are watching these two idiots, you know, talking like they knew everything about to do with their kids, and people were being entertained by it, you know. Like, you know, your own life isn't miserable enough as it is. You got to share the misery of other people's lives. I mean, you know what? You know, I don't know. Escapism. I mean, it used to be if you want to escape your problems, you turn the TV on, you watch a soap opera, you watch science fiction, or you watch something that ain't got nothing to do with your life. Okay? But now it's like, no, we want to know what our neighbor's life is like. Are they doing better than I am? I mean, how is their life? You know, come on, people. How many hills do you want to look over to see if the grass is greener there? I mean, Jesus, can't you just take your lawn and fucking fertilize it and make it green? You know, you want a good life, you got to make it yourself. I mean, these other people, if you think they got green grass, they're living their own life. Okay, and in their minds, they were doing it right from day one, and you know that's a fucking lie. You know that's a lie. I mean, Jesus, it's nobody ever gets it right the first time. Even the wealthiest among us. I mean, I can't even think of anybody who started off in life and didn't trip, stumble, and fall on their own face before they got going. Okay, so these people who are trying to tell you how to do it and do it right the first time, you know, no. Everybody's lives are different. Okay, everybody has different circumstances in their life, and not every idea is going to work for you. Okay, so stop wasting time, you know, with that. These people are on there and telling you how you should do this and do that and raise this kid, raise that, you know, or deal with your husband or your family or whatever. Okay, fine. You know, you get entertainment out of it, fine. But please don't take their advice as gospel. Okay, don't. There's a reason why the Bible's so ambiguous at times, or so confusing in areas, because even it knows better than to be specific, because nothing's certain. There's no, you know, A leads to B, B leads to C way to live your life. There isn't. There's no way, because everybody's different. Everybody's got their own situation, and they have to deal with it with themselves. That's something parents need to learn about raising their kids, I think, is that your kids can't follow your footsteps and make it and do better than you did. because it's like asking somebody to repeat something over and over again and expecting a different result. Okay? Let your kids try a different path. I mean, you might feel comfortable in your life, and that's good that you do. Okay? But if you're a parent and you want your kid to do better than you, then the thing is you're just going to have to let them make their own direction, to do what they feel is right, to do what they like to do. All right? And that means you're going to have to bite your tongue. Unfortunately. But yeah, we know nobody wants to see our kids fall on their face, but we can be there to pick them up, help them back, and let them continue on. That's the best we can do. And people today, it's like everybody's looking for the book, the how-to book, to living. And that's how we get sucked into these people on the internet. That they're on there talking about, do this, do that, and you're doing this wrong, or you shouldn't do it like that. And, it's like, okay, fine. So you tell me this, you give me your reasons, fine. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to fail for me if I do it a little different. Okay? Now, certainly abusing your kid is off the table, right? I mean, nobody wants to get caught doing that, because now we see these 2 million people see what happens when you abuse your kid. All right? It's not because society is so touchy-feely about things, and you can't look at your kid this way anymore, and they'll say you're abusing them. No. It's because a lot of kids have already told people why, they were abused and what happened, and to lead to them, being separated from their families because their families were killing them. This information that we have about how to treat your kids don't come from just people like Jodi Hildebrandt, okay? They come from people who have experienced abuse themselves, okay, and told their story to people who listened and wrote down these things. And from that, people have extrapolated information from it to tell people we shouldn't do this to our kids because X, Y, Z, you know what I'm saying? This is how we learn. We learn from our mistakes, and that's what society has been doing. And that's why today, new laws have been made and more ways of checking out to make sure that our kids are being treated properly are there. More requirements, I guess. Because now we know better. Before we didn't. I mean, the 70s, a lot of people say, how the 70s, we trusted everybody, which is why, serial killers was such a predominant thing back in those days, is because people were really ignorant about strangers. They'd jump in a car with somebody, they wouldn't even ask, whether they knew them or not. And then they'd turn up missing, found dead in a ditch somewhere, you know what I'm saying? But we know better today, which is why a lot of people say, oh, nobody trusts anybody anymore. Well, that's because we learned a lot of things from our past. We learned a lot about, not trusting everybody we see. Because, they're not always like, they might look nice and honest, like Ted Bundy on the surface, but underneath they're the devil. They're a fucking creep show, or you know what I'm saying? We had to learn from all those deaths back then in order to modify our behavior in society today. And that's the way child abuse has been. We had to learn from all the mistakes we made about all the kids that were abused by whoever. Okay, and from that we had to create standards that parents have to follow to avoid repeats of stuff like that. And we have to check each other. If you see something strange, what I'm saying? If you see your neighbor doing anything, call the police or something, okay? That's how we got to this point. It's not because people got oversensitive. It's because we found out that, the world's more dangerous than we think it is. Even people that we thought were very nice to us in the past, the best person you ever knew, later found out they were hiding child pornography, and they were beating kids and killing kids and raping. Nobody can wrap their heads around stuff like that. It's because we weren't raised to expect things like that to happen. We are today. Unfortunately, that means a lot of people today are more standoffish now. Let me give you an example. December, early December. We weren't getting snow yet then. Pouring fucking rain out. I mean, rain like you wouldn't believe. Well, I had to go to the bank. I was just driving up the street, and there was a lady with a jogging outfit on. She's jogging, and she's pushing her fucking baby in a cart in front of her while it was pouring fucking rain out. Now, to her, to be fair, the baby cart had sort of a hood thing over the top. I don't know how well that was keeping the rain off the kid, but I thought that was a bit, I don't know. That's just me. I just figured, you don't want your kid to come down with pneumonia. I mean, Jesus. So I pulled over to the side of the road. I rolled the window down and said, "You want to ride?" And she's like, "No, I'm good, and she kept running. And I was thinking, Jesus, lady, I'm not going to kill you. But then I was thinking, isn't that how these things happen? Some guy, somebody wouldn't know, pulls up, offer to help, and, they get in the car and they're never seen again, And even though I was trying to do something nice, maybe to drive, just to get her to, somewhere closer to her house or whatever so she can get the fuck out of the rain, the first thing that came to her mind perhaps was that I don't know you and I don't trust you. Okay? So unfortunately, that's the way we are today now. And this is because of decades of bad people doing things to people who expected the best from them and instead got hurt or killed. You see how just a few bad apples can spoil the bunch? That's the same thing that's happening with cops right now, isn't it? You get a few bad cops out there and now nobody trusts the police anymore. Or at least a lot don't. Okay? And that's sad too, because there's a lot of good cops out there, and if they try to do something good, somebody might mistake that as something they're trying to do that's going to be bad. I mean, like I said, I got pulled over for having a headlight that was out. I don't know if I mentioned this before in the previous video. I had one headlight out on my truck. I didn't even know it was out. I mean, my dashboard doesn't light up when it says you got a headlight out. She pulls me over, and I noticed in my side mirror she had her hand on her holster, unbuckled with her hand on the gun, right off the bat. You see, because now you see the police are scared that every time they pull somebody over, it could end in some kind of a shootout. They never used to do that before years ago, but now they do that all the time. They got their gun at the ready, okay? And I can't say I blame them, but it's kind of unnerving when you see somebody approach you and they got their hand on the gun because you don't know, are they going to use it or not, But I kept calm, and I knew that, I kept myself cognizant of the times we're living in. And even though VZ, I mean, Christ, what the hell goes on in VZ? It's still universal. No matter if you live in the city or in a small town like VZ, it's just that. It's just what goes, what people see on TV becomes part of what happens in their town. And unfortunately, we're all thinking that, even though we know what's the reason why, it still makes us a little on edge. And some people, they can't control themselves about that, and they blow up, and then they find themselves sitting in the jailhouse for a while because they got smart-lipped with the cop, or they tried to do something stupid, because they felt they were being, what I'm saying? There's people like that. But that, I mean, I think that's what it is people have to learn, that when we talk about child abuse and stuff like that, it's not that we're being overly protective of the kids, like I think Jodi was trying to say when she was giving a speech or whatever at her trial. We're not, society isn't doing that because we're losing our morality. I think it's because we've learned a lot over the decades. I'm 53, so 52 rather. We've learned a lot, over the years about how to survive in this world, and it's full of pitfalls, and if we're not careful, we'll fall in them things, like she did. She made people trust her, and she took advantage of that, and so she added to that distrust that's out there now, Jodi. So now we're going to look at therapists in a more dimmer way now than we did before, because now we go hailing people as the answer to a lot of people's problems. Now we see she is the problem. Same thing with Ruby, okay? She is the problem. She's not the one you should listen to about how to raise your kids or whatever. She is the problem. So, yeah. Anyway, that I guess that's what I took from it all. I don't know how, valid it is or whatever my position on that. My opinion is no better or worse than anybody else's about it. I just thought, it's been bouncing around in my head here for days now about that crime, and it just seemed to me like there was, there's a lot that needed to be said about it beyond the crime itself. Something that it says about our society and the things that she said, Jodi, and to people about things, and I just felt it needed to be capped somehow, and whatever. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great upcoming week. So comment and subscribe if you want, and please treat each other nice out there. Good things come around, karma, good karma. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.